The History of the Red Lotus of Avatar. The Red Lotus is a global militant anarchist organization founded by Xai Bau as a splinter faction of the Order of the White Lotus after the Hundred-Year War. Until 171 AG, the organization operated through sleeper cells, keeping their existence unknown to the world. The Red Lotus' agenda is to have the humans and spirits coexist again and usher in a new world order by dismantling the established nations and their leaders, which they originally planned to do by releasing Vaatu from his prison within the Tree of Time, and later by assassinating world leaders and ending the Avatar cycle. The only Red Lotus members who were publicly revealed as such were all-powerful, influential individuals. The former chief Unalaq, the truth seer Aiwei, and a group of terrorists led by Zahir. The latter had been incarcerated for 13 years following a failed attempt to kidnap Avatar Korra. Zahir managed to escape his imprisonment 2 weeks after harmonic convergence, using airbending abilities he had acquired due to the planet's energy shift, and subsequently liberated his 3 associates. They managed to send the Earth Kingdom into chaos, but failed to murder Korra, resulting in the incarceration of Zahir and the deaths of his 3 comrades. Nevertheless, many members are believed to still be at large. Since the beginning of the insurrection, the Red Lotus is declared a terrorist group by the United Republic of Nations and considered to be the greatest threat to world peace and balance. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the history of the Red Lotus. Before we begin, we publish new content every week, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Founding. After the Order of the White Lotus came out of hiding at the end of the Hundred-Year War to serve the Avatar in the world's nations, Xai Bau became disgusted with the society's direction, deeming the White Lotus as having reduced itself to merely the Avatar's bodyguards. In order to preserve the way how he believed the Order should have been, he broke away and founded the Red Lotus to help liberate the world from the nation's influence. In order to achieve that agenda, they wanted to truly unify the world by reopening the spirit portals so humans and spirits would live together once more as one, as well as by doing away with the nation borders and their leaders. Incarceration. When still a teenager, Zahir met Chief Unalaq after they had both joined the Red Lotus. They learned about Rava and Vaatu, the spirits of light and darkness, and how Avatar Wan had separated them, bringing imbalance to the world, which he, according to the Red Lotus, had only strengthened by dividing the physical and spiritual worlds. The Red Lotus subsequently devised a plan to kidnap the Avatar in order to reverse Wan's decision and teach her the ways of the Red Lotus. As such, Zahir, Ghazan, Pli, and Ming-Hua launched their plan to kidnap Korra a year after her status as the new Avatar was confirmed, but were unsuccessful due to the intervention of Tonraq, Tenzin, Chief Sokka, and Fire Lord Zuko. They were apprehended and detained in 4 maximum security prisons scattered around the globe. However, Unalaq had not come with his comrades that day and had thus managed to avoid being arrested. He washed his hands of the incident and maintained his innocence by covering up his involvement in the kidnapping, but began pursuing his own personal ambition to become the Dark Avatar, something that the Red Lotus had not planned to do. To further diffuse any suspicion against him, Unalaq collaborated with Zuko to build a prison in the western tundras of the North Pole to contain Pali. As was the case with Pali, the Order of the White Lotus imprisoned Ghazan and Ming-Hua in environments that would suppress their bending, while Zahir was held in a remote mountaintop cell constructed entirely out of metal. The organization's lesser-known agents, such as Aiwei, remained at large and continued their operations in secret. With the White Lotus successfully raising Korra, the Red Lotus shifted plans. Instead of trying to convince the Avatar to join them in her adulthood, they decided to capture and eventually kill her while she was in the Avatar state, putting an end to the reincarnation cycle and further establish anarchy. Members of the White Lotus and Chief Lin Baifong of Republic City spent the next 13 years interrogating each member of the Red Lotus in order to determine the gang's motives, but were ultimately unsuccessful. Escape. Shortly after the harmonic convergence of 171 AG, Zahir acquired airbending abilities, which he used to ambush the sentries outside of his cell when they came to bring him his daily ration of rice and escaped. He promptly traveled to Ghazan's prison and used his disguise as a White Lotus sentry to come close enough to board the wooden ship. While evading the attacks of the sentries, he managed to provide the Earthbender 3 pieces of earth, which Ghazan promptly used to lava bend and break out of his wooden holding. After having done away with all the sentries, the 2 men greeted each other, and Zahir explained that his abilities were a result of harmonic convergence, which he saw as a sign that the group's path was righteous. The two promptly headed to free their third associate, Ming-Hua, who was detained in a volcanic facility devoid of moisture. After providing her with water to escape, the three resolved to free Pali from the tundras of the Northern Water Tribe, prompting Lord Zuko to take action. He and Tanrak, now the chief of the Southern Water Tribe, headed to the North Pole to increase the security of Pali's prison. Using a snowstorm conjured by Zahir to act as cover, the three made their way toward Pali's prison in the western ice tundra at the North Pole. While Zahir faced off with Tanrak and Ghazan kept Zuko busy, Ming-Hua quickly defeated Chiefs Desna and Eska and drilled her way down to Pali's underground cell, where she incapacitated the two guards on duty and freed the combustion bender. Resurfacing, the two were immediately attacked by Druk, Zuko's dragon, though Pali managed to redirect the flames and retaliate with a combustion beam of her own. With the group complete, Ghazan and Pali swiftly defeated Zuko and Tanrak before fleeing the scene. Tracking the Avatar. As part of their plan to find the Avatar, the four criminals traveled to Republic City and sought refuge in an apartment complex overrun by spirit vines. Zahir shaved his head and infiltrated Air Temple Island under the guise of Yoru in an attempt to determine Korra's whereabouts. Though his apparent knowledge of the air nomad culture and desire to meet the Avatar aroused suspicion from Kya, who realized his true identity. After a short battle, Zahir managed to defeat Kya and fled the island using a glider he had stolen from Tenzin's office. After returning to base, Pali chastised Zahir for exposing himself on Air Temple Island and compromising the group's whereabouts, stating that the incident prompted the police to initiate a citywide manhunt for them. In light of the recent event, Ghazan inquired whether the group would continue with their plan to attack President Raiko, an operation which Zahir decided to delay in order to focus on determining a method to leave the city. To that end, the group ambushed a truck driver, whom Ming-Hua threatened to smuggle them all out of the city undetected. The truck driver attempted to drive out of the city via a bridge, though by the time they got there, the road had already been barricaded, and every vehicle was being searched by the police. Anxious over the situation, the driver wavered while questioned by the officers, who forced him out of the vehicle as a result. The truck driver fled the scene and left the police to open the back of the truck, from where Zahir launched a surprise airbending blast, knocking the officers back and giving Ming-Hua enough time to gain control of the wheel and begin driving out of the city. The four were pursued by 5 police cars, 3 of which were immediately blown up by police combustion beams. In order to halt the remaining officers, Ghazan turned a section of the road into lava, which allowed the 4 to successfully escape. The group temporarily camped in a forest outside of the city, where Ghazan, Ming-Hua, and Pali discussed how to find the Avatar while Zahir meditated. The waterbender expressed her regret over not having taken a police officer to interrogate for Korra's whereabouts, but Pali simply reassured the two that they would find the Avatar in due time. Shortly after, Zahir opened his eyes and announced that Korra was in Zaofu with the Metal Clan. Attempting to capture the Avatar. With the aid of Ai Wei, the Red Lotus infiltrated Zaofu under the cover of darkness, managing to capture the Avatar by sedating her and Naga with Shirshu spit darts. Their escape did not go unnoticed, however, as Pabu alerted Mako and Bolin, who subsequently attacked the Red Lotus and drew attention to the group's presence. The foursome was soon surrounded by members of the Metal Clan, who used their metal bending to box them in between metal plates. However, Ghazan used his own skill to free themselves by creating a lava moat, forcing a stalemate between the two groups. Eventually, Bolin managed to block Pachi's Chai by striking her third eye with a pebble, while Lin and Suyin Beifong dropped in from above on cables and rescued Korra. Zahir attempted to recapture the Avatar, but was thwarted by Suyin, who pierced the wing of his glider with metal shards, forcing him to make a crash landing near the rest of his team. Realizing their attempt to kidnap Korra had failed, Zahir created an air dome to cover their escape. Pursuit of Korra. The Red Lotus later made camp in a cave not too far from the Misty Palms oasis, and contacted Ai Wei to meet Zahir at Xai Bao's grove at sundown. In the spirit world, Zahir confronted Ai Wei over what had happened at Zaofu, blaming the Truthseer for the debacle and accused him of having left loose ends. Although Ai Wei assured the airbender that there was no evidence left linking back to the Red Lotus, Zahir deemed Ai Wei himself to be a liability and subsequently threw his soul into the fog of lost souls. Afterward, he returned to Xai Bao's grove to have a conversation with Korra, who had followed Ai Wei there. While secretly alerting his friends back in the physical world that Korra was at an inn in the Misty Palms oasis, he distracted her by telling her about the origins of the Red Lotus and how Unalaq had engineered their first attempt to kidnap her. While Pali remained behind to guard Zahir's body, Ming-Hua and Ghazan traveled to the village to retrieve Korra. Before they could locate the room she was in, Asami, carrying Korra while riding Naga, made a break for it, while Mako and Bolin instigated a fight with Ming-Hua and Gazan. Eventually, Ming-Hua managed to gain the upper hand against Mako, throwing him into a door and rendering him unconscious. As Bolin tried to avoid the burning lava bent by Gazan by jumping into the inn's pool, Ming-Hua water-bent a sphere of water around him, effectively trapping him. While holding the two brothers aloft, she told Gazan to pursue Korra. Before he could get to her, however, Earth Queen Hao Ting's troops captured Asami and Korra to bring them back to Ba Sing Se. With Mako and Bolin in tow, the two returned to Pali and Zahir. The latter promptly informed them to load the brothers onto the truck and prepare to head to the Earth Kingdom capital. Taking down the Earth Queen. While en route to Ba Sing Se, Gazan and Ming-Hua guarded the bound-up brothers in the back of the truck while Zahir drove with Pali sitting next to him. With nothing else to do, the four in the back engaged in conversation. Although Ming-Hua and Gazan deflected Mako's inquiries about their plans, they humored Bolin by answering his questions in regards to their time in prison. The questioning was cut short, however, as Zahir ordered Gazan to gag the brothers pending their arrival at the Earth Kingdom capital. Inside the palace, the four gained an audience with Earth Queen Hao Ting by baiting her with information about her airbenders. Zahir managed to strike a deal with the queen, information about the airbenders in return for the Avatar, as the Avatar's imprisonment in the Earth Kingdom would lead to a world war. The Red Lotus was escorted to await Korra's arrival in the Earth Kingdom Royal Palace's antechamber. Noticing a Dai Li agent swiftly pass by their chamber, Zahir followed him, sneaking into the throne room where he overheard that the Queen's ship with Korra aboard had crashed in the Siwang Desert. Deciding to take matters into their own hands, the team barged into the throne room, resulting in a fight with the Dai Li. After quickly defeating the Earthbenders, Zahir confronted and suffocated the Queen with his airbending. While Gazan was sent towards the city walls, the other three made their way to the capital's communications room in order for Zahir to make a citywide announcement of the fall of Hao Ting's regime. As the Red Lotus leader stated that he delivered Ba Sing Se back into the hands of the people, Gazan used his lava bending to bring down the internal walls separating the three rings, bringing forth a chaotic, plundering horde. Afterwards, Zahir went to the palace's prison where he released all the inmates. Before freeing Mako and Bolin, he gave them a message to be delivered to Korra and promptly took an airship toward the Northern Air Temple. Northern Air Temple Ambush. Arriving at the Northern Air Temple, Gazan, Ming-Hua, and Zahir rounded up all the inhabitants while police stayed aboard the airship to control the situation from above. They intended to use the Air Nation as leverage to get to Korra, though when Tenzin figured that out, the Airbending Master promptly attacked them, giving the Airbenders a chance to escape. While Pali focused on the escapees, managing to shoot Kai out of the sky and corner the others at the Flying Bison stables, Zahir faced off against Tenzin, while Ming-Hua took on Kia, leaving Gazan to battle Bumi. Although Kia and Bumi each managed to get some hits in, they eventually had to acknowledge the superiority of their opponents when they teamed up against them and managed to knock them off the balcony. Although Bumi had managed to save themselves from plunging to death, they became the perfect target for Pali's combustion attack. Her attack missed, however, as Kia convinced her brother to let them fall, effectively evading the blast at the last minute. Meanwhile, Zahir had trouble keeping up with the Airbending Master, who managed to evade all his counterblows and land many of his own. However, the tables turned when Pali landed an attack, bringing Tenzin down within striking range of Ming-Hua and Gazan. Although it was now 4 against 1, Tenzin refused to give up, stating he would never let the Red Lotus get to the Avatar as long as he was breathing, prompting the three members on the ground to relentlessly barrage him with their respective elements. Defeat. Korra contacted Zahir over the radio from the Metal Clan's airship, explaining she would surrender herself so long as Zahir freed the airbenders. Zahir instructed Korra to meet him on top of Lagahima's peak. Korra used her glider to meet Zahir, while Lin Suyin, the Metal Clan guards, and Tanrak scaled the side of the mountain ready to ambush Zahir. Meanwhile, Bolin, Asami, and Mako were working to rescue the airbenders while Zahir was distracted. However, Zahir had deceived Korra yet again. He had already moved all the airbenders, save for Tenzin, to a mountainside hideout while Ming-Hua used waterbending to make water dummies and airbender robes. When the deception was revealed, Gazan and Ming-Hua left Mako, Bolin, Asami, and Tenzin to die as lava slowly destroyed the Northern Air Temple. Meanwhile, Korra, while chained with platinum cuffs, resisted Zahir as the Metal Clan engaged Pali. Tanrak assisted his daughter too, but was thrown from a cliff by Zahir. Lin subsequently acted as a distraction for Pali, as Suyin metal bent her chest plate around Pali's head before she could fire, confining the explosion to her head and killing her. However, the death of Pali allowed Zahir to unlock the unique airbending ability to fly by letting go of his earthly tether and escape the battle carrying an unconscious Korra. The Red Lotus took the Avatar to their mountainside hideout where they planned to use mercury to poison Korra and force her into the Avatar state, after which they would kill her and end the reincarnation cycle of the Avatar forever. But when Korra entered the Avatar state, she was able to break free of her chains and engage Zahir in an aerial battle. Meanwhile, Team Avatar discovered the hideout with the help of Kai and freed the captured airbenders before engaging the remaining members of the Red Lotus. Mako and Bolin fought Ming-Hua and Gazan respectively, and after a short battle, Mako managed to electrocute Ming-Hua with lightning before going back to help his brother overwhelm Gazan. Refusing to be taken back to prison, the lava bender bent the cave down on himself in an effort to kill Mako and Bolin, but both brothers were able to escape. Meanwhile, Korra and Zahir battled in the sky above the air nomad caves, where the duel went in Zahir's favor due to Korra's inhibited abilities. After suffering several bad falls, as well as the continued effects of the poison, Korra collapsed on a nearby plateau which allowed Zahir to apply the asphyxiation technique he had previously used to kill the Earth Queen. However, the freed airbenders, under Jinora's direction, created a tornado under Zahir and Korra, which allowed Korra to force Zahir toward the Earth and defeat him. The Beifong sisters promptly restrained Zahir in an Earth shell. As it seemed that Korra had succumbed to the poison, Jinora revealed that the poison was metallic in nature and thus prompted Suyin to bend the poison out of Korra's body, saving her. Despite the deaths of Pali, Ming-Hua, and Gazan, as well as Zahir's incarceration, the remaining Red Lotus leaders and sentries had returned into hiding and still remain at large with no way of knowing how many are out there. In addition, the chaos Zahir brought to the Earth Kingdom after the Earth Queen's defeat still prevailed. As a result of their actions, President Raiko declared the Red Lotus a terrorist organization in the eyes of the United Republic of Nations. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.